The snow had started falling early that year. Outside, the white flakes drifted lazily through the crisp December air, landing softly on rooftops and tree branches. Inside her small cottage on Maple Street, Eleanor sat by the window, a wool blanket draped around her shoulders. Her teacup had gone cold, but she didn't notice. Her gaze lingered on the snow. Her thoughts, far away, somewhere in the Christmases of her past. The old house had grown quieter with time. The laughter that once echoed through these rooms had faded decades ago. The scent of freshly baked gingerbread cookies, the warmth of the fireplace crackling while carols played in the background, all belonged to memories now. Still, every December, Eleanor decorated her home just the same. She hung the same worn ornaments, strung up the same lights, and placed the same small angel atop her tree, the one her younger brother, Thomas, had made when he was 8 years old. Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. Even after 60 years, the thought of his name made her chest tighten. He had been only 10 when the fever took him, just a week before Christmas in 1965. Eleanor was 15 then, old enough to remember every detail, young enough for it to have left a scar that never fully healed. Every Christmas after that felt incomplete, like something precious was missing. That evening, as Eleanor walked to the attic to fetch a box of decorations, she paused at the creaky old door. She rarely went up there. The air was always dusty, the light dim, and the smell of time itself seemed to linger. She pushed the door open, shivering as the cold air met her face. Boxers lined the walls, old books, faded clothes, forgotten furniture. She smiled faintly as she spotted her late husband's old typewriter, still sitting on the same wooden desk. She was about to turn back when something caught her eye, a small brown paper package, tied with a red ribbon, sitting behind a stack of worn blankets. Curious, she pulled it closer. The paper was yellowed, the string brittle, but the name on it was clear. To Eleanor from Thomas. Her breath caught. Her trembling fingers traced the faded letters. For a long moment, she couldn't move. It felt impossible. A gift from her brother, untouched for 60 years. How could it have stayed hidden all these years? She sat on an old trunk, holding the small box close to her chest. A tear slid down her cheek before she could stop it. That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. The box sat on her bedside table, waiting. She had turned it over in her hands countless times, but something inside her hesitated to open it. Maybe she feared what she would find. Maybe she feared what it would make her feel. The next morning, the snow outside had thickened, blanketing the neighborhood in silence. She made herself tea and carried the box into the living room. Her hands trembled slightly as she untied the ribbon and peeled back the paper. Inside was a small wooden music box, hand-carved, beautifully simple. When she turned the tiny key, the soft tune of Silent Night began to play, slow and gentle. But what made her heart ache most wasn't the music. It was the note folded neatly beneath it. It read, "Dear Ellie, I made this for you myself. I wanted you to have something to remember me by when I go to school far away next year. I'll come back before Christmas. I promise. Love, Thomas." Eleanor pressed the paper to her lips. He never got the chance to go anywhere. The fever came before that Christmas. She let the melody fill the quiet room, her tears falling freely now. The music carried her back to the nights they used to sneak out of bed and watch snow fall from the window, whispering secrets they never told their parents. She had spent her life missing him, missing that small laugh, that mischievous grin. And now, decades later, it was as if he had sent her one final message. That afternoon, Eleanor called her niece Clara, her only living relative. Clara lived in the city and often tried to convince her aunt to move in with her, but Eleanor always refused. When Clara picked up, Eleanor tried to explain what she'd found, but her voice broke halfway through. "A gift from Thomas?" Clara asked softly. "Yes," Eleanor whispered. "It's been here all along. I don't even know how I missed it." "Maybe you weren't meant to find it until now," Clara said. "Maybe he wanted you to hear his music again when you needed it most." Eleanor smiled faintly. "You sound just like your mother." always seeing signs where others see coincidences. Maybe that's what love is, Aunt Ellie, Clara replied. Just a string of little signs we keep noticing, so we don't feel so alone. That night, Eleanor placed the music box on her nightstand and let it play again before she went to bed. The tune filled the air, and she closed her eyes, imagining Thomas smiling from wherever he was. But sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept circling around something, a question she couldn't quite form. There was a strange familiarity in the handwriting on the note. It looked just like hers. Before I continue, dear listener, if stories like this touch your heart, if they remind you of someone you once loved or lost, you can support us through the PayPal link in the description. Even the smallest gesture means a lot, helping us keep bringing stories like this to your bedside every night. Thank you for being part of our little storytelling family. The next morning, Eleanor decided to go through some of her old belongings, searching for any clues about that gift. She wanted to understand how it ended up hidden all these years. As she sorted through the boxes, she found an old diary covered in dust, its pages yellowed with time. The year on the cover, 1965. Her heart skipped. She hadn't opened that diary since she was a teenager. She turned the pages slowly, reading through old notes about school, friends, Christmas shopping lists, until one entry made her freeze. December 21st, 1965, Thomas is still in bed. Mama says he'll be fine, but he looks so pale. I bought him a small wooden box kit for Christmas. I'll help him paint it when he's better. I just hope he gets better soon. Eleanor stared at the words. Her hands began to shake. She turned another page. December 24th, 1965. Thomas didn't wake up this morning. I don't remember much. Mama said he's gone. I left the gift I bought for him by his bed, but I never finished wrapping it. My head hurts. Everything feels empty. Eleanor covered her mouth, tears spilling freely. It didn't make sense. The package she found upstairs said to Eleanor from Thomas. But if she had been the one wrapping gifts that year, then who wrapped this one? She sat back in her chair, the room spinning gently around her. A memory began to form, foggy, distant. Her mother's soft sobs, her father's trembling hands as he cleared Thomas's room. She remembered seeing her gift to Thomas sitting unfinished on the table. But maybe her parents had found Thomas's gift too, and in their grief, tucked both away. Maybe they couldn't bear to part with either. And so the little package stayed there, hidden in the attic, waiting for her to find it at the exact time her heart was ready. That night, Eleanor placed the music box on her windowsill. The snow outside shimmered under the streetlights. She turned the key and let Silent Night play once more. She didn't know why or how, but she felt Thomas's presence again, not as a ghost, but as warmth, as memory, as love that had never really left. And for the first time in many years, Eleanor whispered softly into the night, "Thank you, Thomas. I'm sorry I forgot for so long." She smiled through her tears. And in that quiet house, where loss once lingered, peace began to settle, slow and gentle, like the falling snow. The morning light spilled through the curtains, golden and soft against the white snow outside. Eleanor woke up to the faint hum of the Silent Night melody still echoing in her mind. She had fallen asleep with the music box playing beside her. For the first time in many years, her sleep had been peaceful. There were no restless dreams, no aching loneliness, only a lingering warmth that felt almost like a hug. She made herself a cup of tea and carried it to the living room. The small wooden box sat on the table, its carved edges gleaming faintly in the light. She ran her fingers along the side, noticing something she hadn't before, a tiny engraved letter T tucked near the corner. Her heart tightened. "Thomas," she whispered. It was strange. She'd spent decades trying to avoid thinking about that winter. For years, she'd buried her grief beneath work, then marriage, then motherhood, then widowhood. But now, in her final years, that small wooden gift had found its way back to her, as if the past refused to be forgotten until it was understood. She opened her diary again, turning to the last few pages she had written as a girl. There were stains, probably tears from that time, and in one small corner, she found a sentence she didn't even remember writing. Maybe one day I'll forgive myself for not being there when he called my name. Eleanor shut her eyes tightly. The memory returned in flashes. Her mother sending her to fetch water. The sound of Thomas weakly calling from his room. Her shouting back, "Wait, I'll be right there." And then the silence that followed. She had carried that guilt for 60 long years. All this time, she'd thought Christmas hurt because she missed him. But maybe, deep down, she'd also been punishing herself for being too late. That evening, she decided to visit the old cemetery at the edge of town, the one where Thomas was buried. The snow had thickened again, blanketing the world in silence. She wrapped herself in her heavy coat, tucked the small music box in her pocket, and slowly made her way down the road. When she reached the small headstone marked Thomas Weller, 1955 to 1965, she brushed the snow off its surface. "Hey, little brother," she whispered softly. "It's been a while." She knelt and placed the music box beside the stone. When she turned the key, the melody floated gently through the cold air. The sound mingled with the whisper of the wind, soft and full of memories. "I think I finally understand," she said quietly. "You weren't asking me to hold on, Thomas. You were asking me to let go." Her breath trembled as she spoke. "All these years, I've carried guilt like a shadow. I thought I failed you that day. But maybe I was just a child too. Maybe I was hurting, not heartless." The snowflakes drifted onto her shoulders. Somewhere deep inside, something loosened. That tightness she had felt for decades, finally beginning to melt. She stayed there for a while, until her fingers grew cold. Before leaving, she whispered, "Merry Christmas, Thomas. I think I can smile again now." When Eleanor returned home, the house didn't feel so empty anymore. She poured herself some hot cocoa and sat by the fire. The music box sat on her lap, the tune still lingering in her mind. She picked up her pen and opened her diary. The same one she had written in as a teenager, and added a new entry. December 24th, 2025. "Thomas, I found your gift. It took 60 years, but I finally opened it. You gave me more than a song. You gave me peace. I forgive myself now. I hope you'd forgive me too." She closed the book gently, smiling through tears. A few days later, Clara came to visit for Christmas Eve. The house was glowing with soft lights, the tree decorated with ornaments older than both of them. "Aunt Ellie, the place looks beautiful," Clara said, hugging her. "You've outdone yourself this year," Eleanor chuckled. "Well, your uncle used to say I could turn a matchbox into a Christmas wonder if I had enough glitter." They laughed, sipping cocoa and talking by the fire. Clara's eyes fell on the small music box sitting on the shelf. "Is that the one from the attic?" she asked. Eleanor nodded. "Yes, I played it for Thomas at the cemetery." Clara smiled gently. "I think he heard it." "I think so too," Eleanor said softly. "And maybe he sent me one last message in return." Clara tilted her head. "A message?" Eleanor pointed toward the music box. "When I got home, I noticed something I hadn't before. Inside the lid, look." Clara opened it carefully. Inside, carved faintly into the wood, were the words, "Don't be sad, Ellie, I'm always near." Clara's eyes glistened. "Oh, Aunt Ellie." Eleanor smiled warmly. "He waited until I was ready to read that." Later that night, after Clara had left and the house was quiet again, Eleanor sat by the window, watching the snow fall under the streetlights. She whispered softly, "You know, Thomas, I think I finally understand what Christmas really means. It's not about the gifts that arrive, it's about the love that stays." She turned the key one last time, and Silent Night filled the room again. The melody was the same, but something in her heart had changed. It no longer hurt, it healed. And as she listened, she imagined Thomas's small hand slipping into hers again, the way he used to when he was afraid of the dark. Only this time, there was no fear, only peace. If this story touched your heart tonight, dear listener, if it reminded you of someone you've loved, or gave you even a little warmth on a cold evening, consider supporting us through the PayPal link in the description below. Your kindness helps keep stories like this alive, for hearts that need them most. And if you can't donate, just leave a small message of love in the comments. Sometimes words heal too. Thank you for spending your evening with us. This was the Christmas gift that never arrived. A story about forgiveness, memory, and the quiet love that never fades. Good night, and may peace rest gently on your heart.